Hello everyone, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here, bringing you my guide for the highly anticipated free SSR ticket coming to FGO NA this week. That's right, for those of you who don't know, we will be receiving a special ticket this Thursday that will allow us to pick any non-limited, non-story locked 5-star servant for ourselves. We've been looking forward to this day for months and it's finally here. But of course, picking a 5-star servant is a huge deal, so you want to make sure that you make the right choice. So I'm going to give you all my recommendations for which servant I think you should pick up based on your situation. Whether you're a brand new player to the game or a veteran player looking for more optimal farming setups, this is the guide for you. And if this video does help you decide on which SSR you want to pick up, I would love it if you considered hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and ringing my bell so that you can help us out and stay up to date with all of the new FGO content as it comes out. And with that said, let's get into it. First things first, you'll need to obtain that SSR ticket before you can use it. So how exactly do you do that? Well, when you log in during the campaign period, which lasts between April 14th and May 30th, so a little over a month and a half, you'll notice a set of special event missions that need to be completed. These missions are all extremely easy and they mostly just entail beating story chapters or clearing daily quests. But the most important mission is the mission to clear Orleans. Orleans is the second story chapter of the game, and once you complete that during this campaign period, you can clear the mission and claim your reward, your free SSR ticket. If you've already beaten Orleans, which many of you likely have, then you'll just be able to clear this mission and get the ticket right away as soon as you log in. If you're just starting the game and you haven't cleared Orleans, don't worry, it's a very early story chapter and you can easily clear it within a day or two of just starting the game if you focus on the story. Once you have your ticket, you'll be able to go to the shop and trade it in for a copy of any of these SSR servants that are on screen right now. However, and this is extremely important, when you receive your SSR servant, they will only be a temporary servant until you meet certain requirements. Thankfully, those requirements are very easily met. You just need to ascend the servant one time and you need to get them to bond level 5, both of which are extremely easy to do. Even if you're a brand new player, this shouldn't take you long at all, and you'll have all the way up until June 15th to meet these conditions, so there is plenty of time. Just keep in mind that once you get your SSR servant, you should focus on leveling them and using them in battle, and you'll have nothing to worry about. Now, before we get into my recommendations, I do want to note that you should always pick the servant that you like the most. Always go with your favorites, that way you'll never be disappointed. Personally, I'm going to go for Europa, even though she isn't exactly a top tier servant, because I happen to have a thing for scantily clad women with A rank riding. That being said though, if you want to make the best gameplay choices, then these are my recommendations for who you should be going for. Starting off with best offensive picks first, Artoria is probably the best all-around powerful offensive unit that you can pick up with this ticket. Artoria is a servant with a very powerful AoE Noble Phantasm that is strong for wave clearing, she has a ton of damage buffs that help her out with her single target damage, and she has a good NP charge as well so that she can even farm well in some team comps. She's also very bulky with high HP, so you don't need to worry about her dying quickly, and she even has another buff coming up later this year, which will greatly improve her damage potential, so she's only going to get better as time goes on. If you are a new player and you're looking for a versatile attacker that you can build a team around for any situation that the game throws at you, then I would highly recommend considering Saber. If, however, you want a more dedicated offensive servant for tackling harder content, like boss fights and late game challenge quests, then try Ozymandias. Like Saber, he is a versatile offensive servant who also coincidentally will be receiving major buffs in the future. But on top of that, Ozymandias has much more explosive single target damage for bursting down the HP bars of bosses, and he has excellent utility specifically made for boss battles, like the ability to seal enemy Noble Phantasms, which is one of the best debuffs that a servant can have in the late game. He can also charge the entire party's NP gauge, so he does synergize fairly well with many supports. And finally, as a sort of honorable mention, both Anna and Scheherazade are worth considering if you're planning on rolling for Castoria and you need an arts farmer to pair her with. Now, Scheherazade and Anastasia are not particularly elite Castoria farmers, however, they are good at it and they can 3-turn farm consistently well if for some reason you don't have Siege. As for which one of them you should pick, just go for your favorite. Both pretty much fill the same role, so they're interchangeable. Next up, we have my picks for best supports. Now, supports are much more important in FGO than offensive servants. So if you don't have an elite support, I would highly suggest picking one up over any of the previously mentioned servants. And when it comes to elite supports, Waver is the best that there is from this batch. He is very strong at supporting more offensive teams, since he can buff the party's attack and crit damage, and he's also an excellent challenge quest support for late game content because he has an NP drain and a stun that are tied to his NP, which is very spammable. But what really elevates Waver to his elite status is his ability to charge an ally's NP gauge by 50%. That is tremendous, and it enables all types of 3-turn farming comps. So if you need help with farming and grinding out events, picking Waver is a no-brainer. Probably the only servant who can rival Waver when it comes to challenge quest viability though is Tamamo. Tamamo is the queen of stalling and keeping the team alive. She has strong party-wide healing, cooldown reduction, and NP charge, and she can drain enemy noble phantasms much like Waver. She has one of the best targetable damage buffs in the game with Fox Wedding, which is a super steroid for art servants, and she can also buff the party's NP damage. Tamamo is a ridiculously good pickup if you're already set for farming and you're looking for a support that is more geared towards taking on challenge quests and boss fights. And on that note, I'd also like to give a small honorable mention to Jeanne as well. She isn't as versatile as Tamamo and Waver, but she is one of the best pure tanks in the game, and she's excellent for keeping your party alive. She is nearly immortal thanks to her ruler class typing, which cuts nearly all damage that she receives in half, and she can give the entire party invincibility and healing. So if you find that your team dies a lot, like maybe you rely on very fragile glass cannons, then it may be worth considering Jeanne just to give them more survivability. Now, I know that a lot of new players will be coming to FGO now to take advantage of this free SSR ticket, so these next two recommendations are especially aimed at you guys. One thing that separates FGO from many other gacha games is the heavy emphasis on story, and in fact many of the events and rewards in this game are locked behind story progression, which means that advancing through story chapters quickly and catching up is of utmost importance. And the best servant for helping clear early game content very quickly is Vlad. Berserkers in general are very good for steamrolling through story quests since they can pretty much kill anything regardless of class, but Vlad is especially strong in this regard because he has very good survivability on top of good damage, so you don't need to worry about him dying as often. He can single-handedly carry you through almost all of the singularities alongside Mosh, and even in the Lost Bouts he remains relevant and powerful. He has even more buffs coming in the future that make him even stronger, and he is excellent when paired with even a single Castoria from your friends list too. So in short, if you want a servant who is future-proof and can carry you through story very quickly so that you can catch up, go with Vlad. But while Vlad may be the best short-term pickup for new players, the best overall servant to pick with this ticket is undoubtedly Waver. Like I explained earlier, he is an elite support who excels at buffing the team offensively and farming. Waver's support skills are also extremely generic, which means that he can work alongside any servant and make them better. Literally. He is the perfect support for every servant in the game because every buff that he offers is universally powerful, regardless of class or card type. But by far his most useful attribute is his use as an NP battery. He makes efficient farming very easy and doable even for new players and free-to-play players. He works perfectly with other meta farming supports like Castoria and Scotty, and he enables all kinds of 3-turn farming setups if you use him with the Battlesuit Mystic code. And since farming is the most important aspect of FGO, he will be the servant that you will get the most use out of by far. So whether you're brand new to the game or you're a veteran, Waver is the best pick that you can make if you plan on playing this game in the long term and farming seriously. And those are my recommendations for which servants I think you should pick up with this SSR ticket. But as I mentioned, if you have a favorite waifu or husbando, don't hesitate to pick them up either. And let me know which 5-star servant you plan on picking in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over in our Discord, follow us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter, all linked in the description down below. And until next time, this is Soberoni signing out. Later.